Pir, Imaginative Rascal, and Toothy, Imaginary Friend, versus Krenko Mob Boss, another partner player with Thrasios, Triton Hero, and Bruse, Tarl, Boorish Herder, and then Tatyova, Benthic Druid. With a full grip of lands in hand, I do not want to keep that, don't want to be reliant on mulligans for the entire game, and as usual, as soon as you mulligan with Magic Online, you get punished for it. At least we get a free mulligan in multiplayer. Okay, I like Rhystic Study there, so hopefully we manage to keep that in hand. Let's just get rid of an island. Oh, actually, no, we don't need to keep Ugin there, do we? Let's get rid of the Ugin instead. There's no guarantee that we'll get into another land off the top in the first 4 turns. And Krenko, starting things off on turn 0 by revealing Chancellor of the Forge. So, a 1-1 goblin with haste coming into play. And now they get to swing in and make an enemy of someone, but they do not. They wisely sit back. They don't know how fast a start anyone's going to get off to. I'm just going to play out an island and pass the turn straight over. Neither of the other players are getting off to a fast start either, apparently. Krenko managing to make the second land drop into nothing, so no cheap ramp or goblins for Krenko apparently. We get into a turn 2 play though, which is really good. So we can go with Sakura Tribe Elder, and that'll get us into another green source. And then Tatyova, of all the players, not making another land. I don't know if they accidentally skipped through their turn there. Oh dear. Yeah. Looks like they did skip through their turn, or they were reliant on another land off the top and decided not to play it out. But the partner player did manage to make a land, so we'll see what Krenko can do. Goblin Soothsayer. So that's a sack outlet. Well, not really. You can only sacrifice 1 goblin with that, but you do have to watch out for sack outlets with the Krenko. Oh, and I accidentally clicked on Sakura Tribe Elder. I thought it was the end of our opponent's turn, and it isn't. So we'll see if we take 1 damage needlessly here. No, they don't swing in at us anyway, so that's good. Let's go in for a Chasm Skulker. Or do we just want Toothy? Yeah, why don't we go for Toothy, and then we can get down Rhystic Study next turn. Obviously, we're not going to bother looking for Pir, because it's in the command zone, and not in our library. That ability would actually come in handy if the Tuck rule was still effective. Thrasios coming down for the Thrasios and Bruse Tarl player. With 1 mana floating, still 7 cards in hand. And then it is Krenko on turn 4 for the Krenko player. We do not have an answer for Krenko, so fingers crossed that Thrasios does. Although they're only in Simic colours currently, they haven't gotten into any white mana, which they might be able to make use of for exile. So why don't we just go... Yeah, I think we go Rhystic Study here. So we'll drop the command tower and get down the Rhystic Study. I don't imagine either of our opponents are going to pay into Rhystic Study because the partner player doesn't have much mana, and Krenko doesn't seem to have many cheap goblins to get out either. Mirren the Moaning Well is 3, sack a creature, gain life equal to toughness. So just holding up mana for Thrasios seemingly. Pretty slow paced game so far, which I don't mind. But it's about to get a whole lot faster with Krenko being activated. And the first spell since Rhystic Study came out, you get red for each goblin you control with a Brightstone Ritual. And they decide not to draw a card there. And we draw into Counterspell, which is exactly the reason I held up the 2 blue. But Thrasios might have something. No, just going for the Scry. Now then, do I want my opponent to have a lot of mana? I mean, they'll have 9 mana. 9 mana's a lot more than 3, yeah. Oftentimes I want to counter the thing they're trying to ramp into, but I think in this case it's 6 less mana. So let's go for a counter on that. They might be able to combo off right now if we're not careful. And then just tapping out the 3 mana. I don't know what they have in their hand if they can't do anything with 3 mana. They've got 6 cards in hand, so obviously they needed that mana that they were going to get from the... whatever that thing's called. So that was a good counter, seemingly. We need to get into something other than lands, though. Let's go... Why don't we go Chasm Skulker? No. Let's go Mana Gorger Hydra into Pir as well. So we'll go Pir first. And then we'll just hold back the Toothy. Yeah, we'll hold back Toothy against the Goblin army. The problem we've got here is we're giving Thrasios time to get things done here. And the more time we give Thrasios, the worse it is for us. But they're really struggling on their colours. So I don't know what the plan is for them here. Okay, Skyshroud Claim, that fixes their colours. Let's see if they pay into the Rhystic Study. I imagine they will. We get a couple of counters on the Mana Gorger Hydra thanks to the Pir. And they do pay for the study. They get a red and a white forest, as you would expect. It's not worthy that they didn't grab the Savannah there. And then tapping the Tiger down for red mana and passing over, so maybe they don't have the Stomping Ground is the Gruul Shockland, I think. Maybe they don't have that in the deck. Now it is Mass Hysteria giving everything haste, which is not good against goblins. Then deciding to pay for the Rhystic Study, because apparently they don't have any cheap stuff in hand. I'm assuming that they had this in their hand last turn, or maybe they just top-decked it, and they want to surprise us with all these goblin tokens. We really need to draw into some good stuff here. But I dare say these goblins will be coming in at us after we countered their stuff. No, they're not swinging in at all. This is a very, very passive goblin player so far. So now let's get down the Fathom Mage, and hopefully we can start getting some card draw here. We'll go for the Rex Sage onto the Mass Hysteria as well. And that will evolve the Fathom Mage, which will get 2+ counters on it, which will draw us 2 cards, and that will put counters onto Toothy, which is now a 10/10. And we get into Evolution Sage and Krosan Grip. Yeah, that gets rid of haste as well, which is good. I don't think it matters if we hold back the Toothy, so let's actually start progressing this game along, and we'll swing the Toothy in at the partner player. And taking a hit for 10 commander damage, they can only take a hit like that once more because Toothy is going to have lethal commander damage on them with a direct hit next turn. Oh, and a Boundless Realms as well, and still with 1 mana held up for the study, so we've got a good partner player in play here, actually paying into the study. Seldom you see a Modo player that actually pays for that tax. Getting a bunch of lands into play, and still with 6 cards in hand as well. This will fix their colours nicely. But if we can get rid of Thrasios, or maybe give Toothy Trample or something like that, then we'll be able to knock them out of the game next turn. Problem is, we might need them to help us out with the Goblin player because we're not getting into any removal currently. If we can just get rid of Krenko, then they're not going to be able to recast it unless they start getting into some lands. I'm curious to see what they've got in their hand because they've got a full grip of 7 and they haven't really been casting anything. All of this board state is off the back of a Krenko. Okay, now going for Ogre Battle Driver. That is really good with Krenko. Yeah, someone's going to be getting dealt a lot of damage here, and I think it might be us. We draw a card with the study at least, and it's a land for next turn. That puts the extra counters onto Toothy that we need to take partners out of the game. Then Krenko activates. All of these goblins are going to come in as 3/1s with haste, thanks to that Ogre Battle Driver. And that is 12 of those, so that's 36 damage. And looks like all of them are coming in at us. Yeah, this is what happens when there's no removal at the table. Let's see how much of this we can block. I think we might be out of the game here. So we just block 4 3/1s and see how much damage is dealt to us. No, we only get knocked down to 6, so could have taken another hit there. But still not getting into anything, unfortunately. All I can hope for here is that the partner player has something. They're sticking it out, so I assume they've got something in hand. Let's go. We'll go for the Chasm Skulker. And then I think it's just Pir again. Yeah, the Thrasios player says they don't have anything, but I'm going to give them the chance to have something and hope that they get into some kind of mass bounce, Cyclonic Rift and the like. Otherwise, Krenko is going crazy with an Ogre Battle Driver. We just didn't get into any removal, unfortunately. Okay, Ring of 3 Wishes will get them into a card to do something. They have to put 5 into this. I don't know if I'd worry about Rhystic Study at this point. We're tapped out and we're going to get taken out next turn. I don't think they need to worry about paying that currently. That is 5, and then they'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, just shy of a Cyclonic Rift. But they might have the Sorcery Speed Mass Bounce that costs 6 mana. Can't remember what that thing's called. So they've got a tutor here. They might keep us in the game with it. They really need to deal with Krenko because Krenko can get rid of us, and that's good for the partner player, but Krenko can also deal with them in the same turn, I imagine. They're going to get how many? That is 17, 18, 19, 20 goblins that are 3/1s, thanks to Ogre Battle Driver next turn. And that's obviously 60 power on the board, not to mention all the tokens that are already in play. Okay, and then they played a land there, I think, so that's 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. So they might have Rift. Nope, they went for the Hallowed Burial. So that tucks all the creatures in play. We will draw a bunch of cards off of Toothy here, though. The great thing about Toothy is that it's when it leaves the battlefield. It's nothing to do with exile or death triggers or anything like that. We're going to draw a boatload of cards here with an infinite hand size, thanks to Reliquary Tower. I think Chasm Skulker is on death, though. Yes, although I don't think that had any counters on it anyway. And that probably takes Krenko out of the game for quite a while, to be honest, because they need to rip 2 lands off the top to even get Krenko out again. And we can see Krenko's massive library here because he has to put the tokens on the bottom. I think you could just do that in any order, so it doesn't really matter, does it? We'll do any order. Our commanders will go back into the command zone. Like I said, the tuck rule is not in effect currently. They got rid of that a few years ago. Okay, we get into Mana Crypt, some fetches, none of which we're too elated about. Let's put a stop on the upkeep, just in case we want to go for Mystical Tutor. We can grab Fathom Mage back out of the bin with the Eternal Witness. Hardened Scales. Yeah, it might just be Zendikar Resurgent and pass. Yeah, I think that's what we have to do here, so we will forego the Mystical Tutor. And we can go... What land do we want? Not Misty Rainforest. Hinterland Harbour will do, I think. Then we'll go Zendikar Resurgent. Then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 mana held up. Logic Knot, that's Delve, isn't it? Yeah, so we can use Logic Knot if we want to. So why don't we just go for the Thought Vessel for a little bit more mana. And that way we can hold up Crowsome Grip as well. So Thrasios and Bruse Tarl are in a good position here. Deciding to pay into the Rhystic Study. This is search for 2 lands, isn't it? The problem is, if they get into Field of the Dead, that's going to be really difficult for us to deal with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different land names. They can pay for Logic Knot as well, can't they? Ugh. I think we're just going to have to allow that, unfortunately. Okay, they didn't go for Field of the Dead. That looks like Alchemist's Refuge and a Strip Mine. Followed by Ring of 3 Wishes. Perhaps should have gone for a cross and grip on that, but I do want to hold up counter magic to keep us in the game. You never know, someone might play a haster. Okay, Wilderness Reclamation. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control. Yeah, I think that is logic not worthy. So they have to pay 1, 2, and 3 into X. And they've only got 2 mana available. There we go. They may have counter magic of their own though, they're in the right colours. But that goes through. So they've only got 4 cards in hand, 2 mana available. But they've got more mana than anyone at the table, I think. We might have more thanks to the Resurgent, but this will not stick around forever, I don't imagine. Okay, a 4 mana Goblin. So we do draw another card, we get into Acidic Slime. Goblins you control and Elementals you control have Menace. Now then, do we want... We have to worry about that Menace really, don't we? Yeah, I'm still not going to go for the Mystical Tutor. What do we draw there? Here's another land that we can't make use of. Don't think we have Chromatic Lantern in this deck, actually. No, we don't. Looking over at the deck list, we've still got a land to make at least, so we might need to shock in. Or we might need to bring the shock land in tapped, so let's just hold off for a second. We can go... Let's bring out Toothy first of all. Actually, how much is Pir? That is 7. 6 and 7 will leave us with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 and 14. Yeah, I think we can do that. And we draw a card thanks to casting a creature. And getting to Biogenic Ooze, that's a card I've wanted to play for a while. Then we'll go for Toothy as well, I think, although we've got enough card draw, don't we? Let's go for the Hardened Scales first. Biogenic Ooze. Drawing another card, we get into a land. Now this is green intensive, isn't it? Yeah, 3 green, which we don't currently have. But we do get an Ooze token. Then why don't we go... We'll go in for the Acidic Slime as well, so that we can get some counters onto that as well. And we will remove the Tutor artifact. And then we can make a land. We haven't made a land yet. Do we want to do anything else? We could cultivate for even more mana. This is an Ooze as well, isn't it? Can we gain any life? There is no creatures to exile. So no. Oh, we've got Doubling Season as well. I didn't notice that. What to do here? Let's just play out a land. We've got lands to make for the next few turns if we're desperate, so we don't have to shock this in. Let's just go for Cultivate. And we'll grab 1 of each. An island can go into play tapped. And we'll leave it there, I think. Biogenic Ooze triggers at the end of the turn, and all of our oozes get 3+ counters on them. Thanks to the Pir being in play, and Hardened Scales being in play, it would just be 1+ counter on all of these otherwise. So I'm not as worried about this thing swinging in anymore, because we can just block it with our stuff. Alright, what is this? Warden of the Eye. When it enters the battlefield, return a target, non-creature, non-land, from your graveyard to your hand. They may go for the Ring of 3 Wishes here. Nope, going for Wilderness Reclamation. Yeah, they're eager for that thing because it's really good with Thrasios. We've got Cross and Grip, luckily. But they'll get some use out of Thrasios if they decide to play Thrasios out here. I think Thrasios will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they can get an activation 1, 2, 3, 4, and then untap everything and use Thrasios a myriad of times. Alright, and then introducing the Monarch into play, which means, yeah, they've cracked the Throne of the High City, which we can't look at apparently because Modo doesn't like us. But they've cracked that land to introduce the Monarch basically. Now what's this? draw a card. If you have 9 or more cards in hand, you flip this, and it turns into 5 and tap. Target player draws X cards, where X is the number of cards in hand, so draw a boatload of cards basically. Untap all their lands, and they do have flash as well, thanks to the Alchemist Refuge that they tutored up before. So no doubt they will still get Thrasios down. Still no lands for Krenko, but there's an Empty the Warrens. Gives us another card draw. They will get no storm with that, unfortunately for them, but they do get a couple of Menace Goblins. And we did draw a card with the Study, got back into Mana Gorger Hydra. And our opponent didn't go for Thrasios, surprisingly. They've got the... Yeah, they could have done, but decided not to. Let's go for that. And now they're starting to tap down stuff, so... Looks like they want to go for their commander, or whatever it is that they're trying to flash in before we get into some counter magic. Alright, they're having a look at what we go for first. I think we will put the mana drain on top. And then with the floating mana, we might as well go Cross and Grip onto this thing, because we want rid of it anyway. All of this during our upkeep. They can't respond to this. But they do still have flash on all of their stuff. And then we draw into the card that we just put on top. Let's have a look here now. I think Fathom Mage would be a good idea. But let's go for the Doubling Season first. Then we'll go Eternal Witness into the Fathom Mage. And that will draw us a card because it's a creature. Alright, Tormod's Crypt coming in with flash. So that's our graveyard dealt with. Not going to counter a Tormod's Crypt. I'm not that desperate to get into the Fathom Mage, to be honest. We will target our Fathom Mage, and no doubt our opponent's going to exile our graveyard in response. That's just more mana available to us at least. So we do not get the Fathom Mage. We've just got another blocker in Eternal Witness now. In this case, let's go for the Toothy again. Drawing to another card, we get into stuff that we take advantage of with Proliferate. Everflowing Chalice, we've also got the Coalition Relic as well. Say no there, and then we want to hold up counter magic for sure. Let's just drop an untapped land, and we'll get down the Everflowing Chalice with Multi-Kicker. So we've kicked that 2 times. It would come in with 2+ counters, or 2 charge counters on it, but thanks to Doubling Season it comes in with 4, which means we can tap that and bring in the Relic as well. And then instead of doubling up the charge counters on this, our opponent's going for something here. Going for Collective Restraint. Creatures can't attack you unless you pay X. Yeah, I think we can... I think we'd manage to remove that eventually, so I'm actually just going to allow that. Our opponent might be trying to bait counter magic out of our hand. Just a case of seeing how long we can last at 6 life here. But yeah, instead of putting multiple charge counters onto that, I think I'm going to just go green and go in for the Mana Gorger Hydra again. Then we'll hold up our single island and hope that it doesn't get strip mined. More stuff occurring here. Okay, going for a Seasons Past, paying into the Study again. Yeah, I think they're just going to strip mine us anyway if they don't want us to counter stuff, so we might as well go in for the mana drain here onto that and keep them off of card advantage. If they want card advantage, they'll have to grab it from Thrasios. And that does waste our mana drain mana. Yeah, and then the strip mine comes in on Reliquary Tower. Don't really care about that. We've just got a bunch of lands in hand, but we've got the Thought Vessel anyway. So that's a nice bit of redundancy. I think it's time for us to strip mine the Refuge next turn as well, though. Now then, Menace. We need 6 creatures to block all this stuff. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. What is this? That's a 1, 2 and a 3, 3. I think we just send in the Ooze token towards our friend there, and fingers crossed that I don't regret doing that. Oh yeah, we can't do that, already forgetting about the prison effect. So that makes our decision for us. And we have tapped out. So that is that. Multiple plus counters onto all of our oozes. I think I just go crazy with this thing. Next turn. Oh, Kozilek Butcher of Truth. Without haste, luckily. We'll get some Mana Gorger triggers at least. Yeah, that jumps all the way up to a 7/7 already. And still paying into the study. Our opponent's been very respectful of Rhystic's study, as they should be. Yeah, Mass Hysteria isn't in play, thankfully, so Kozilek does not have haste. Followed by the Royal Scions. And that is loot. Target creature gets first strike and trample, and +2/+0 until the end of the turn. Yeah, I think we have to start swinging in this way. Could do with a Wonder in the deck, I think. Don't think we have any kind of evasion, really. Annihilea would be good, I think. But it might be that the Kozilek goes in at the Goblin player. Although, when we've got all this stuff in play, they might not actually swing in. Krenko getting into a land, but it is a tap land, unfortunately for them. Don't know why Evolving Wilds is in the deck, actually. I'm not sure why they've added that. A Battle Hymn, red for each creature you control. So they will get some extra mana here. I don't think they have quite enough to get Krenko down, though. If this was a mountain, they would have done. And we get into, oh, that's evasion. Champion of Lamhall, we can surprise our opponents with that. Can we get a lot of plus counters onto that thing is the question. And a Gauntlet of Power, that's some nice ramp for them, so they might be able to catch up here if they're given the chance. Alright, and a Wood Elf, so that is a good means. Yeah, we've got some creatures to cast next turn, so we can go Champion of Lamhall and maybe Alpha Strike everybody. 4 cards still in this player's hand, and they've got white mana held up. Oh, they've got, yeah, it's 4 mana in total, so always got to play around Ether Eyes. We've got to remember this thing as well. Alright, well, we survive another turn. And we get into another land. Coalition Relic will not give us any mana because we got down the Mana Gorger Hydra with that last turn. I think it's Evolution Sage's time to shine, so let's play that out. Actually, we go for Champion of Lamholt first, don't we? And we'll draw cards here as well, which makes our Toothy even more powerful. There is another creature for us to get into, Incubation Druid. We'll now go for the Evolution Sage, drawing another card, putting more counters on Mana Gorger. That will put counters on the Champion of Lamholt, and we want to get this thing's power above 12, so that this won't be able to block, and none of the creatures in play will be able to block. Luckily for us, it jumps up to a 7/7 immediately. Now we can go straight in for Wood Elves, draw more cards, we'll ramp. When the land comes in, it will trigger Evolution Sage. Also triggers the Champion of Lamholt every time a creature enters. The Champion of Lamholt gets bigger. We'll drop a Tropical Island. And like I said, that triggers Evolution Sage, so we'll be able to proliferate, add counters to all of our stuff. And I'm glad I'm not playing this game in paper, I can tell you that much. Yeah, this is a lot to figure out. Now let's go for the Incubation Druid as well. I've just got my fingers crossed that the partner player doesn't have anything. Alright, now then, how much mana do we have to pay? It's domain, so that cares about basic land types, yeah. Where X is the number of basic land types, which I assume is 4 against a 4-colour deck, so let's have a look at this. I mean, they take 1 hit from this and they're down to life toll and commander damage. Let's just drop another land to trigger the Evolution Sage, and then we'll see if our opponent has anything. Let's swing in. Alright, and I'm actually going to take in a Death Toucher at the Planeswalker as well, just in case our opponent manages to escape this combat. So it's Toothy in at the partners, Bargenic Ooze in at the partners, Acidic Slime, the Planeswalker. Mana Gorger's going in at the Planeswalker, why? I must have misclicked there. So that is supposed to be going in there. Yeah, there we go. So that's going in at the Goblins player, and then that in at our opponent's face again. So that's 12 mana we have to pour into that. And as it stands now, our opponent can't block thanks to Champion of Lamhole. And I don't have counter magic backup currently either, so I don't know if our opponents can do anything, but we'll soon find out. Alright, and there we go. I was actually expecting the partner player to do something there, because they played it out, and it's always very strange when it's admirable, don't get me wrong, but it's always very strange when a player on Magic Online is dead on board and decides to play it out, because oftentimes a player will just scoop immediately when they see that they're dead. But neither one of our opponents did that, so a big thank you to them for playing it out. I really wasn't hopeful for us winning that one because we got knocked down to 6 by the Krenko player, and I don't think we ever got into any removal, did we? This is obviously, I mean, it's Simic, so it's going to be removal heavy anyway, but we didn't get into any of our mass bounce or targeted removal, so yeah, we were kept in the game well and truly by the partner player there, but they were keeping themselves in play as well. If Krenko had been allowed to carry on with the Ogre Battle Driver, they could have wiped out the entire board with minimal effort. Apologies to any of you that wanted to see Tatyova, but not much I can do about that. I think they just misclicked, passed through their turn and decided to scoop straight away. If you all enjoyed this, be sure to leave it a thumbs up and let me know what you think of this deck. I very much enjoy it and I've been meaning to revisit it for a long time, so this is pretty much what we want to do and it's very, very enjoyable. I need to make sure next time when we're not at as low a life total to pay more attention to Biogenic Ooze, because this is a pet card of mine and I haven't had a chance to run it in anything, and this game might have been our chance, but I didn't want to make any risky plays because we're at such a low life total. Anyway, be sure to leave a like and a subscribe like I said. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.